Elsewhere in my tutorials, I do a little tutorial of waving flag. Well, I'm going to try something a little different here. It's also going to be a waving flag, but more like a banner. But it's going to incorporate a couple of different techniques. And one of the most important is the use of the pen tool to create the actual shape of the banner. Now, let's start by creating what's going to be on the banner. Let's get a nice color here. We'll say pick this nice deep brown color. And with our text tool, I'm going to type in lynda.com. Now I'm going to take that text and I'm going to apply one of the text warps to it. Let's go in there and give it the flag, which is going to give us that effect right there. Maybe I'm going to increase that a little more so it gets a little more pronounced. Click OK. Now I might want to do a little more to this. Let's just do a little bit of a skew. Let's skew it like that. Now this shape right here is going to determine the actual shape of my banner. So I'm going to use this shape as a guide when I'm creating the banner. Let's move it up into area just like this. And I'm going to get to my pen tool. Now, the banner itself is going to be larger than the text. So I'm going to come up here and start right above it and a little beyond, because it's going to be this little area here of fabric that's going to be connected to the pole. So I'm going to click and I'm going to drag. Now you'll notice that the handle is following the tangent of this curve. I'm not going into it. I'm not going away from it. It's going right along it as if I'm bouncing or just balancing it right on this curve. And I'm going to pull it out to about a third of the distance to my next point, just like this, which is going to be right here at the bottom of this little valley. And about the same height above the letters, I'm going to click and I'm going to drag. That drag is important because I want this to be one continuous curved line. So I need the handles. Now I'll come up here to that little peak formed by this little mountain. I'm going to click and drag. Now you notice that it's following this shape of my text. And the beauty of the fact that this is a path, I can easily go back there and modify it after the fact. I'm going to go to the end down here of my text and click and drag just a little bit, just a little handle. So I can get a little curve right there like that. I'm going to come down right below and just click. That gave me a corner point. Now I'm going to backtrack on it to form the other part of the banner, the bottom part. Holding down my Option button, or Alt on a Windows machine, I'm going to pull out a new handle, which is going to follow this curve now. So I'm going to pull it up about a third of the distance and go right into here, click and drag and pull it. Go down to the bottom of this little slump here, click and drag. Go up, click and drag. Now here I'm going to change direction to form a little kind of a open shape here. So I'm going to Alt or Option, click and drag here to get the new handle. Still holding the button, I'm going to go in there and close it. Click and drag. Now I'm going to go and modify it. Let's pull this out a little further. That's looking better there. Maybe this can come in just a slight bit so it's kind of even top and bottom. This can come down a hair, and that's good. There's my first step for my banner. Let's go to the paths. There it is, work path. I'm going to name it. We'll call this main flag. And let's pick a color for it. We'll start with this yellow, and let's go in there and modify it. Let's make it a little warmer. And that's a good color right in there, just like that. Now, let's go to our layers. And in the layer behind the text, right in here, we're going to call this banner. I'm going to go ahead and fill that path with that color. There it is. Now, let's look at our layers right here. Behind that one, I'm going to create another one, which we're going to call fold. Let's go to our paths again. And I'm going to pick up right where I left off, right here. I'm going to kind of click and drag out a little handle. Just like that. And I'm going to pull it out like that. See? And come down and pull this out. And come down here and click and drag. See? I'm getting this little curve here. And again, don't worry. We can always adjust it after the fact. Now I'm going to backtrack on itself. And Option click here. Pull the handle this way and get one of these little pointy ends like they do in medieval times, those banners that you see. I got a new handle, come over here, click and drag, option, new handle, and come back. Now I'm going to just click on it so I can close it off just like that. Now let's go in there and adjust this a little. I'm going to take this and bring this up a little bit. Let's make this a little more round right there. See, it got that more of a curve. Let's make this a little less pronounced. That looks good like that. And we might want to bring this down a little bit so it's not so strong. Yeah, that's looking better. See? That's the beauty. We can always fix this stuff after the fact. Now we got that shape. That's our fold, right? Let's call this fold. I'm in that right layer there. That's the right layer, so I'm going to fill the fold. Another layer. And this one in back of that, we're going to call this back of banner. Back to our paths again. I'm going to start from right here where I left off, that edge right there, and I'll come up, click and drag, and get a little curve going there. See? It's as if this flag is just folding its way around. Then I'm going to go in here and just kind of fill it in so that it overlaps that other piece right in there like that. This is the only piece that's going to be visible right in there. So I kind of work that shape in there. Let's call this back. Make sure we're in the right layer. Yep. And we'll fill that with the same color. Now we're going to give this some dimension. If you're not sure of how these things should fold, the best thing to do is to study reality. Get a little piece of ribbon or just a piece of paper and fold it, bend it. See how it looks. See what kind of shapes transpire. And that's what you're trying to recreate in this little exercise. Let's give it a background of a nice sky. I'm going to pick this nice bright blue here for my foreground color. And for the background color, let's pick this lighter blue. And we'll just throw a gradient right into the background. Just like that. Now the banners are going to get some color. Let's start with the fold right here. That's this one. Now this one's in front of this one, but behind the main one. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some deeper tone. Let's pick up the tone right from the letters themselves. I'll get a paintbrush. And right now I got a really big paintbrush. Let's make it a little smaller. Let's say that's about good size right there. That's a good size. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lock the transparency so that I'm only going to paint inside the active pixels. And as I throw in a little tone, look what happened. Right in there. I got this nice little effect of little shade going in there, and throw it right on the tip as well. In fact, let's undo that one. Bring down the opacity a little. It's not going to be so strong. Do it again. There, it's a little lighter. Let's do the same to the banner itself. Throw in a little tone right in the front here. Whoop. See what happened? Because we didn't lock the transparency. Now when we throw that in, there it is, right where it belongs. Here we'll get a much bigger brush. Much bigger brush. Let's go really big. That's a nice big brush from here. That's too big. And we'll bring down the opacity just a little more, and we'll just throw a little tone right in the middle there. Right through there. Now we get a much smaller brush. About like that. That's a good size. And we'll just throw a little tone inside the back, just right along here. And again, that locking of that transparency, it's so important. Throw it right in there. There's that little bit of tone. Now to finalize this, I'm going to take my dodge tool, and we'll get a slightly larger brush for that. And in the banner, we'll throw a little highlight right through here. Hit it a couple of times until we get it nice and bright. And maybe a little one right through there. And we'll do the same thing for the back of the banner. We'll throw a little highlight right through there. Just through there like that. And in the fold, a little highlight right through that little part right in there. And now, if you want to complete this whole thing, what we could do at that point would be to create our little pole. So let's create another layer, and we'll call this layer the pole. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a long rectangle just like that. And I've got this color, this nice brown color. Let's pick for the background color something similar, but darker. Let's say that's a good color. Maybe darker than that. That's good. And I'm going to throw a gradient right inside there. A little gradient right through there, like that. Now, we might want to add a little bit of a highlight to this. Let's lock the transparency on it. And I'm going to get a nice bright color. Let's say this almost white yellow here. And I'm going to get a little tiny brush. It's much smaller than that. That's a good one. And I'm going to click right up there. Right there. I'm going to just click right there. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to hold down my shift key and click. And nothing happened because Shape Dynamics is selected here. And this brings to mind a few things. There's a lot of things in Photoshop that might have been left on from a previous job you were working on or whatever. If you're not sure what it is that's not working, just check things. In this case, since the brush was not connecting, is because the Shape Dynamics was on, and when that's on, pen pressure is automatically set. So let's turn that off. We can lock this so it won't happen again, but let's just leave it the way it is. And I'm going to click up here, come way down here, and shift click. And I get this nice little highlight going down in front. The shift key allowed it to connect from one to the other. Now I'm going to take that pole, move it over to here, and give it a little rotation. Let's rotate it just like that. And move it out of view. And there's our banner. Ready for waving at the next festival.